Welcome to Brick by Brick, Building Wealth Through Homeownership. I am Kim Von Dohren, your realtor.
And I'm your banker, Ed Marko. So let's talk about our primary houses.
Yes, we'll have a little bit more of a personal conversation to give people a look inside our houses.
Yeah, and maybe talk about why we chose to live the way that we do, because we both live kind of similarly, and neither one of us would have to.
Correct.
Right. We could both live in, I'll say, much more extravagant surroundings, and we don't.
Yes, we both live pretty simply.
Yes.
I would say.
Yes.
And dare I use the word conservatively?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it might give people just a little look behind the curtain to see and know us a little better.
Sure.
Yeah. So do you want to start or shall I?
I can start. So my wife and I made the decision about not quite 10 years ago that we wanted to buy a home that would be the home where we would die. And I know a lot of people do that. They buy that beautiful house on the hill and they think, I'm going to die in this home. And at the end of the day, when you start to get a little bit older, that's not so practical and incredibly expensive to maintain. But we had some must-haves to make us both happy. So our home is an extremely small bungalow on about 1/10 of an acre of land. We have neighbors all around us, but it's still relatively private. And my extravagance is I have a beautiful backyard that's just filled with gardens and flowers and all kinds of beautiful things. I have a little tiny pond with way too many fish in it. And frankly, a swimming pool that takes up probably at least half of the backyard, a beautiful in-ground pool. And I love that.
Yes, I call it the oasis.
Thank you. Yes, a lot of people call it paradise or a little oasis. And then on the inside of the house, which is pretty much my wife's area, we do have a fireplace and kind of like a formal living room and then a casual living room downstairs. And for whatever reason, she needs to have a bar in the house. It's not like she drinks a lot, but she just likes the look of a bar. And it's relatively modern. It's a smart house. We just call it the talking house because you can tell it what you want and it basically does it.
Do you know what the square footage is?
I'm going to say under 1,000 square feet. We live in under 1,000 square feet.
That probably is incomprehensible to most people.
Right?
To live in a home that is under 1,000 square feet.
Most people that I do business with get invited to my home in the summertime to spend time in the backyard, in the patio. And as soon as they show up, they're in shock. They can't believe that I live in this tiny little house when they're walking up to it. And then when they come inside, they're either amused, at the very least they're amused, but most of them are really surprised at how nice it is despite its incredibly small size.
Yes.
And functional.
And it looks like a cottage from the front.
Right, yeah.
It does.
It's intentionally.
It looks small.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come, it is small ultimately from, it wasn't back in the day.
Yeah, there was a time when this was, I guess, considered a fairly large house, but that was
maybe not large,
75 years ago.
Yeah. And maybe not large, but it was definitely not unusual to live in a home probably that was under 1,000 square feet because especially in this region, there are lots of them.
Right.
There are lots of them. Right. And, maybe people shared bedrooms back then. Like, how many bedrooms does your home have?
So 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, which is nice. That comes in handy. And then the basement, when we have family in, because I do have adult children who have children, the basement can double as a 3rd bedroom. It's completely finished. We're sitting in it.
Right. Yes. Yes. I didn't know if you wanted to say that or not, so I wasn't going to bring it up.
Fine.
But yes, we are sitting in your refinished. Yeah. You have refinished. So just to give people an idea, what was the home like when you bought it?
Very 1980s, very 1980s. There was carpeting throughout. The bathrooms were very dated. The kitchen was reasonably new and the carpets were rough in the bedroom. It was rough when we bought it. We didn't spend a lot of money for the house when we bought it. We've spent a lot of money on the house. So, yeah.
And so what improvements did you make that were like, these are things that I must have here that would really just enhance my living here?
Right. So all hard floors, whether it's tile or vinyl plank or hardwood. My wife has respiratory issues, so carpeting was just not a good idea for her, or anything that holds dust. So that was pretty expensive because it all came out and it was all done in a 2-week period. Never do that. Never replace all of the flooring in your house at the same time. It is, or if you're going to do it, go on
Inconvenient? Yeah,
vacation
that's
and
inconvenient at
hopefully,
a minimum.
right, yeah, hopefully it's finished when you get back. We're very do-it-yourselfy people, so we did have help with that. But yeah, we did all the flooring, redid the backyard, redid the concrete outside around the pool, redid the pool, bathroom, flooring.
Did you redo both bathrooms?
No, I still have one more that I need to redo. That's
Okay.
the basement bathroom. Although you wouldn't have to. It's relatively modern. I have a vision,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
want it doesn't, now that bathroom doesn't match the rest of the house. So it
Right.
needs to get in line.
Now you put a fireplace in the lower level. That's where your fireplace is?
So it had a wood burning stove in it. We really enjoyed that. I have had fireplaces that burned wood almost my entire life. But again, it comes down to planning. Be prepared. If you're prepared for anything, you're prepared for everything. So, I'm coming up in years. Swinging an axe and then wielding a chainsaw is not something that I wanted to continue to do anymore. I enjoyed the smell and the sound of actual burning wood, but at the end of the day, there just comes a time when you got to say, you should not be doing. Not that you can't. I could probably do it another 20 years, but I probably shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
So it just made sense to get rid of the wood stove and put in a modern gas fireplace.
Yeah. And you just get to flip the switch and then
Actually, I can tell the house to turn it on and off. It is really great.
It's convenient.
It is.
Yes. Yeah. So why did you choose to live in a home of this size?
Ease of maintenance, low taxes, ease of maintenance. It's exactly what we need for the two of us. I know a lot of people that they hang on to that big house because the kids were raised in it and the grandchildren want to come for Christmas. And I guess I understand that to a point, but when it's not good for you financially, and I don't like to wait for it not to be good for me. We just made up our minds. We don't need to live where we're living anymore. We don't need 5 bedrooms. We don't need, you know, I just we didn't need anything large anymore. We lived in a little townhouse for a little while in the city as well. And my wife and I both decided we didn't want to actually be in the city proper anymore, but we also wanted to be close enough to the ambulance, the hospital, the doctor, the dentist, grocery shopping, all those kind of things. And this gave us a private backyard with decent neighbors and a decent neighborhood and reasonable taxes, very low expenses, easy to maintain now that we've made all of our changes. It's my wife jokes. She says, "Oh my God, your mother's coming. I need 10 minutes to clean the house."
Well, I know everyone can't see, so I'm going to say that your house is immaculate.
Oh.
I've never seen dirt in your house ever.
Thank you. My wife will be thrilled to hear that.
Yes, yes. Let it be known out in the whole world now that you have a spotless home. So y- you have lived in larger homes, though, correct?
Oh yeah. When the kids were growing up, of course, we had the 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms and all just really large house. Yeah.
And did you grow up in a large home or did you grow up in a small home?
No, so I grew up in a very small home, a regular size house. It was, I had a bed. We all had our own bedroom. It wasn't that small, but it was small by today's standards, remarkably small, bigger than this.
Did you all share one bathroom?
Yes, we did share a bathroom. Yeah.
How many people lived in your house?
5.
Oh,
Right?
The internet is aghast.
All right.
5 people sharing one bathroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, to be fair, we did have a shower in the basement.
Of course, in the
Yeah.
region we live, there is a shower in every basement in every home built before 1970.
Yeah.
I'm a realtor, right? So every single
Yeah.
home, there's a shower in the basement. Do you know why?
No.
Manufacturing. There was huge manufacturing in that era. And so we're going to people would come home from work, primarily men mostly, would come home from work and shower in the basement, right? All their dirty clothes from manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
Shower in the basement.
Makes perfect sense now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Take their clothes off and come upstairs.
I didn't know that, but that does make complete sense.
Mm-hmm. And if I am in some way incorrect or there is more to it than that, please, make a comment and tell us. But that's my understanding about why the showers are in the basement. Yeah. Yeah.
What about you? Tell us about your house. I know that you're not very large either.
No, I live in a home fairly similar. We live in my husband's grandmother's house.
Oh, wow.
She got older and moved in with my husband's parents. And so then the house was being rented. It had not been renovated in any way, shape, or form. And it was in its original 1952 condition, which is when it was built.
Yeah.
It was considered a 1-story. It was also 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen, very small living room, and a kind of a dining room. Not really a kind of dining room. It was an attached, the kitchen and dining room were all one big room.
Right.
So when we decided to go from the townhouse that we were living in a townhouse, we decided to renovate the house. It did have an attic. We converted that attic into a bedroom, a bathroom, a walk-in closet, and storage. So it kind of has a sort of ensuite off the primary bedroom on the second floor. However, now, by today's standards, as you know, as a lender, because it is the finished second floor, the ceilings are not flat and straight.
Right.
So like in a cape or a 1.5 story, as we like to call them, I'm not sure how it will be evaluated from an appraisal standpoint. But the other thing is downstairs. When you walked in the door, you walked into the living room, but there were doors everywhere. Do you remember?
Right. Yeah.
Doors. Nothing was open, right? We love the open concept now, but everything had doors. So that you walked in the living room and there was a wall and there was a door, and that door opened up to go into the kitchen dining room area.
Right.
And then if you went through that door and turned right, there was another door that was the hallway to the 2 bedrooms and the bathroom.
Right.
Doors galore.
Yeah.
And so 13 years ago, we renovated the house and turned it into ours. And because we added the square footage on the second floor, that added more space, more living space, because the house was probably also under 1,000 square feet.
Right.
But when we added the second story, that gave us additional square footage. So I think it's between 1,400 and 1,500 square feet now, but it's small. I mean, when people pull up, I remember someone pulling up and saying, "Oh, your house is one thing on the outside and something else on the inside," right? Same as you. We modernized it so much, and you walk in and it's quite a surprise.
It's a surprise. Yeah.
Yes. We have a nice backyard. It is not like your oasis out back. I have no pool, but I have pretty flower beds and nice grass and trees in my backyard and a little patio. And so it's very nice. But we currently now have 3 bedrooms because we converted the attic into the primary, and there were 2 on the main. So he uses one as his office. I use one as my office. And then there's a bathroom downstairs, and we added the bathroom upstairs. So it's still a pain to keep clean. It's not 4,000 square feet, and it's still a pain to keep clean. And that's not how I like to spend my time. So I'd rather have a smaller space. I will say the limitation to being able to entertain at our house is challenging because we've got 5, 6 people in our house and it's crowded.
Yeah.
So it's not great for entertaining. And that's the one thing that I miss about having a larger home.
But I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like you can entertain here, right? But it's the summer. Right. Ours is kind of the same, but then my husband works all summer long. So it's very difficult to entertain in the summertime. But that's, just and I don't want to use as many resources as I possibly can and consume as much as I possibly can. That's just not the way I was raised. Mm-hmm. I was raised to be much more conservative with resources. And so was my husband. So we're pretty conservative. We don't leave lights on or doors open or anything like that. And we just like it that way. We like to use less, spend less, and just have more from an internal joy feeling.
Well, it gives you a freedom that a lot of people don't have, and, I think we should make an episode about that. What houses through a lifespan, like you have your starter house, then you have, your family starts to grow. So you end up with what inevitably everybody calls the big house. That was the house that they had when they were growing up and all
Right.
that stuff. And then when is it wise to sell that large house and go into a smaller, more comfortable, easier to maintain, certainly financially less burdensome home? And that's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
But
I think that's one people need to hear. I'm not sure they want to hear it, but it's probably a conversation we should have. And, people can ignore us or they can listen or whatever.
well, I mean, and the whole idea behind this podcast is how a house can make you wealthy,
Yes,
and getting rid of that house that's not making you wealthy is part of the journey that you'll have with different houses on your
absolutely.
way to hopefully retiring with something other than a welfare check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this episode gave people just a little bit of a glimpse inside who we are and how we live.
Oh,
S-
absolutely.
And again, we could both live in bigger homes if we so chose, but that isn't the choice we make for our own personal reasons.
Yes.
And that's okay. And if you want to live in a bigger house, you go right ahead. But that's just not your house should be a reflection of who you are, I think.
And I think, and the lifestyle that you're living in at that moment.
Yes. Travel is way more important to me than the square footage of my home.
Right?
And so I'd rather spend my money traveling.
Yes. We love traveling too, but we like ease of maintenance and
Mhm.
just understanding that there's just the two of us.
Yes.
The kids are going to come and visit, but they don't live here anymore.
Mhm. And they don't come a lot
Yeah.
or, to stay over. So, you don't need to necessarily have extra bedrooms that sit vacant, 330 days out of the year. And then they're filled by guests or family the other,
15 or 20.
yeah,
For
whatever.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to live for 20 days. You want to live for the year.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So hopefully that gives you an idea of who Kim is and who I am. And until next time, I'm Ed Marko.
And thank you for listening. I am Kim Von Dohren.
You have been listening to Brick by Brick. Be sure and subscribe, post questions for future episodes, or comment. This is a Super Squirrel production, Super Squirrel Studios, Stony Creek Mills, Pennsylvania.